Lidsky, you have written a book called Be Your Dog's Best Friend: The Benefits of Mutual Bonding and Relationship Building. For an
Mm.
academic press, so I expected a very academic book. And you do have footnotes and an index, but in fact, it's a really personal, very passionate, very emotional, very uh, intimate look at yourself and your life and your issues and how dogs have intersected with that. When you set out to write it, did you see it as a healing exercise for yourself, or that your own healing would help other people to heal?
Gosh, that's such a great question, Tracy. And thank you so much for starting with that. Honestly, I think it was both. It was like coming inside out, outside in. When I started writing the book, my beloved Ophelia, who's the heartbeat of the book, who's my
Yes.
first rescue, a beagle mix, great love of my life. All my family knows, my children know. Sorry, everybody, not sorry. She was 17 years old, so she was dying. And I truly was desperate and crawling for any way to be okay when that was going to happen. And so it came out of me like cloth from a magician's trick when they're just like,
Wow.
and ta-da. And I was like, I'm writing this. This is what's happening.
It does come out as a big expurgation of years of emotion on your part, not only about Ophelia, the adorable beagle, and the other dogs you fostered. And might I say, hats off to you for being a dog foster. I
Thank
think
you.
dog fosters are. I wish you'd written just a book about being a dog foster mom, because I don't think anybody is more selfless and maybe unaccoladed in the dog world than fosters, because you take in dogs with either known or unknown backgrounds and often into a household where you already have a dog, like you did Ophelia. And then you do the best by them you can. And then you have to deal with all kinds of outside people asking you, is he house trained? And how does he like, I don't know, snakes or small children? Which to some dogs are more or less the same thing, right? So
Oh,
you
absolutely.
live through all that and then you give the dog up to somebody. So you
Yeah.
did all that. I
Thank
guess
you.
really what comes, and so that is an extraordinary accomplishment in itself. And maybe at some point you'll write about I think a lot of people say, how could somebody raise a guide dog puppy or a service dog puppy, right? And then give it back, if you will, at 6 months or a year old. And that's a different story than taking in a random dog with an unknown background, maybe problems and issues, and then not knowing, is it tomorrow or is it going to be 7 months before I help
Yeah.
this dog find a home? So I want to say, I think it's that's the true selflessness. The book is really about a 12-step program, I have to say. You had
Yes.
an eating disorder, which you talk about, but you talk about 12-step program and other people in it for other reasons, maybe not just food oriented. And it seems that, and you have, I believe, 12 chapters, if I'm not wrong, in the book.
You're
So
right.
you're
You're
a very
right.
12 chapter person. And a lot of that's in the book. And for me, who
Yes.
isn't one, but who has been adjacent to somebody who was, are you supposed to say a recovered alcoholic? I know, who knows what the politically correct thing is. He went to
Who knows?
a lot of AA meetings, but knew a lot of people in NA meetings and all the adjacent meetings. That's
Sure.
another world. It's another lingo. It's another mindset. God comes into it. You bring God into it, and then you tiptoe, and then you bring God.
I like the idea of a higher power because mine, she's awesome. And look, I was raised Jewish. I shout out, love it, love the Judaism. It's great, but I'm like the opposite of agnostic. Like I love them all. I'm like Buddhist, yes, Hindu, yes, Muslim, yes, Catholic, yes, Christian, yes. I'll go to any house of worship. I love it. Baha'i, tomorrow, take me. I just think it's all beautiful. I love watching people pray and believe and have faith. So I've always been that way. I like the term interspiritual, which Mirabai Starr, who's a gorgeous writer, taught me. But I think what the 12-step program did for me was take this idea of God or higher or universe, whatever you believe in, as this
Right.
one way that's dictated outside and making it personal, the kind of higher being that you would turn your life and your will over to. And for whatever reason, it's actually not that different from how I feel about fostering. It all comes from this idea that when we let go, when we're most attached, when we're more than just like the ocean waves of our brain thoughts, and we get into something deeper. You drop 10 feet in the ocean, drop 60 feet in the ocean, 100 feet in the, there's stillness. There's
Uh-huh.
something more. And I have found that feeling the most in animal shelters and 12-step rooms. And I don't know what that says about me, but I think recovering addicts are the gems of this world. And I think they should run all businesses and government agencies. And I'll tell you why, Tracy, because they have buried an identity. They have killed off a part of themselves. They have let who they took themselves to be go, killed that sense of self, and believed that whatever was coming in its wake, the rebirth would be someone to love, whether other people agreed or not. And that is so bold and takes so much faith. And it's actually exactly what I do with foster dogs. So they are a spiritual program for me to have a new animal come into my life who I don't know, who I can't expect anything from. What works for 10 dogs doesn't necessarily work for the 11th dog. It might not be necessarily good for that dog. And to not know and to keep humbly not knowing and to keep humbly revisiting the line where the ocean meets the sand and keep going, oh, it was there yesterday, but today my feet get wet over here. Not where I was, but somewhere new. I have to find that line again. And that finding the line is what makes me feel the most alive. Not
Wow.
being there, but going
Yeah.
again to find, oh, wow, I'm dry here today. The tide is high today. This is new today. That fresh, alive, crisp edge of life feeling. These foster dogs bring me every time they come to my home.
Wow. That's eloquent. And I think you're saying it that way with the passion that you do explains the voice in the book, who is a highly emotional voice, who is full of extremes, a lot of words, a lot of adjectives, a lot of
Yeah,
adverbs, a lot of, please listen, believe me, try it. It's good. It's very touching to see someone, it isn't just your heart on your sleeve, you're throwing it out like a frisbee on the ocean and saying, will it come back? Is it going to be a boomerang? Are you going to go and swim out and get it? It's a very different book than the book I thought it was going to be, because if it's called Be Your Dog's Best Friend, The Benefits of Mutual Bonding and Relationship Building, which is this is what it looks like to those of you watching on YouTube, which is I guess an ever-growing segment of the show. I expected something about dog training and bonding with a dog from a dog's perspective, which is how, at least I'd say, every single other book that I've ever had on the topic of how to be your dog's best friend, let's say, have been about
yeah,
that.
fair.
Your book is really human based. That's not a criticism, but it is both an enticement and a warning to the people that might want to buy it so that they're buying the book or absorbing your lessons and your spiritual view, the one they think they're going to get, and not be like, what? Because there's a lot of sitting and being quiet. Now that works for you, and maybe it works for
Yeah,
other people in various kinds of 12-step programs. There are not many dogs who want to do breath work. I'm just going to say that to you pretty simply because
I'll
what
take it. I'll
dog
take it.
what dog person have I not studied, read, had on this show? None. I've had them all.
I
So
know you.
not the place they come from. Yeah, let's just sit in a little deeper breath. And how about a deeper, because you're very yoga minded. To those
Yes,
of us who say, yeah, yoga sounds real interesting. I'm not patient enough to do it. And then, of course, you yoga types say, you're the one who should do it.
we
Maybe,
do.
maybe yes, maybe no. But so far, I've gotten this far and doing pretty well right in
I
the
think you're
way.
killing it. I
Well,
think you're
you're
killing it.
adorable. But I
You
don't
have your
have answer.
podcast, your Bibles, your YouTube. You are doing it. You've had everyone on this show, so I
I
know you're
have.
killing it.
I have. And so I want to learn from everybody. And I want to be sure with other authors to support them and to get people to know that their book exists and to buy it. But I don't want to have them buy a book of, let's say, fiction if they were looking for a directive book on the best way to get over a reactive aggressive dog, let's say.
So
So
fair, so true.
background is as I have to say, I read it and I go, what? A trauma-informed, certified breathwork facilitator and creative grief coach. Now, these are words all in lowercase, no uppercase, no letters after your name, which if there were, it still could be, oh, the creative grief coach school in Utah, and give them $300 and you get the three letters. I'm not saying that having letters after your name necessarily means anything, but these are
Agree.
self descriptions by you of who you are and what you do. I don't know what trauma informed other than you've had trauma and are sensitive to it in others. Is that what that?
Sure, that is, but I'm certified in the program. So pause is a PAUSE, not PAWS,
Okay.
although how ironic that it could
Right.
be, is a program that I did with a world-renowned breathwork facilitator who was our mentor. And so it was a 9-month program, and then we had to do a certain set of hours as a curriculum. And I did all of mine for animal shelter staff and rescuers and
Oh,
volunteers.
nice.
So I did roll up at the shelter with my yoga mat and my scream hair pillow. Hi guys,
Oh
I'm here
my.
for breath work. And they were like, why? Why are you here? And what are you doing? And I was a volunteer. So they were like, go back to the walking of the dogs. But I think I was adamant about not only doing my hours there, but writing this book in this way because, oh my gosh, there's so many people in the animal welfare world that I admire, you being one of them. And everybody is bright and intelligent and capable. These people, so many people making giant strides. And I do feel that this is an area where we're lacking, which maybe it's yoga based, spiritual based, mindset based. I don't even know
Right.
what based. But
Hmm.
this idea that if we walk into the animal shelter and our light is dim, we're stressed, we're squeezing it in, we aren't sleeping well, eating well. You're walking into a place where animals are so pent up. There's so much cortisol running through their veins. They're waiting. There's a constant onslaught of sounds and smells that they can't get access to. They are at the whim of everything coming towards them.
Right. Right.
And then you're going to come take them out on a walk. But what are you bringing to them? I really believe this. I'm not saying that we should blame staff and volunteers. They are my favorite people. I really want to pour into them. What I am saying is, how much more can we do for animals if what we bring to them is a sense of balance and wellness? Borrow some of my home feeling, borrow some of this equanimity, borrow some contentment. Here is my energy of what it is to be balanced and regulated. Do you remember?
Wow.
What would it be like to give this to animals? How would they show at the shelter? How would they live while they're there? And how might that affect adoption rates? How might that be a bat signal of who comes in to adopt? How might that elevate the vibe of the entire building, the atmosphere, the connection between or disconnection between staff and volunteers, staff and one another, volunteers? How might people communicate with each other? How might someone surrendering an animal be met with empathy, even in their worst case?
Hmm.
And how might that change the part of them we're speaking to and calling forward in them? What could come? What harm can come from bringing wellness into the animal welfare space? To me, nothing. No
Well,
harm can
surely no
come.
harm. Definitely no
So
harm.
I
But the way
do
you
feel
describe the
it's a,
goodness
yeah, it's a
is
voice missing,
very
in my
touching.
opinion.
Very touching.
Thank you.
I mean, it should be in all workplaces, but you're saying you have
Yes.
vulnerable animals who are trapped in a container and they
Yes.
can't even keep at bay all of the information, sounds, smells, sights, and human emotions coming at them. So they aren't
Constant.
necessarily a sponge, but if they don't put up some kind of a wall, they become a sponge and they absorb all that and it overwhelms them.
Yes.
So that's a really interesting point that if the people could understand that everything they do affects not only the other people, because people could have like people teaching in that regard, but it affects the animals. It's interesting because people know how sensitive their own animals are once it's their own animal to emotion,
Yeah.
how they pick up on stuff that you think you don't have to sit there sobbing for them to be empathetic or emotive. They just know. We always are amazed. Wow, they know we're going out in the car. Why? Because you put on the shoes you put on and you pick up the car
Yep.
keys. So that's not Einstein. But the Einstein, the emotional Einstein of animals, if you let them be tuned into you, is they are really tuned into us.
They are.
You're
Their
not just
attunement is
saying,
the best part.
yeah, that you're not just saying, I want Ophelia to make me better, to make me overcome my profound issues. But you were saying that, but you also say, but what can I give her? I don't think animals are as needy in that regard as maybe you and other humans might be, but some are.
I agree.
Right. So I guess I have an issue, which is that not every animal that comes into a shelter has had a miserable life, is really freaked
Right.
out, was abused. Probably mostly not, because as you said, if somebody surrenders their animal, they're already really thinking about its future, which means they've cared about it in the past. Otherwise, you open the door. Bye.
Absolutely. Yep. I work at the intervention table at North Central Animal Shelter here in Los Angeles. I'm Spanish facing.
Oh,
My
nice.
family's Cuban. So
Oh, I'll be,
this is
that's
me,
cool.
but my family's from Cuba. I was born in Laredo, Texas on the border. But I sit there and I mostly deal with the Spanish speaking community, but whoever walks in, it's
Right.
just who I'm designated to speak to because I can. And I have
Yes.
such tenderness thinking about my grandparents coming from Cuba and
Right.
who people
Sure.
should be able to speak to someone. And most of the people who come in are great people, and this is not what they want. They don't want to surrender an animal.
Right.
Actually, most of the people who come in surrendering an animal found that animal. This has been
Oh, interesting.
overwhelmingly the case, which is if I were not there talking to them and asking them questions, someone's coming in to surrender an animal. There's judgment bouncing off the walls.
Yeah.
Everyone's, oh, here they come to surrender that animal.
Right.
I say, what do you need to keep the animal? I'm wondering what's going on because that's what the nonprofit I work for called Better
Yes.
Together Forever, that's what we
Yes.
do.
Which is wonderful.
It's incredible. It's so meaningful and delicious and important, and I love the work. Almost, I would say at least 75% of the people are like, I found this dog or
Yeah.
this cat. I've been taking care of them. I've been feeding them.
Right.
Now I'm evicted, or now the vet bills are astronomical. That's where we can step in and try to help. And sometimes we do and sometimes we don't. But it's just interesting to me how we're not engaged enough to take into account their best day, which is the day they found the animal on the street. And
Yes.
so we're only meeting them with our assumptions if we
Yes.
don't stop and have a conversation. So
Very well put.
I started as a dog trainer. I did the Companion Animal Science Institute, Cassie, who
No kidding.
loved that program. I learned so much. I shadowed some fabulous trainers here in Los Angeles. It's not that I didn't enjoy being a dog trainer, but I didn't enjoy being a dog trainer, mostly because people wanted me to do it for them. That's what they wanted.
Oh,
They wanted, for my experience, they wanted to outsource the issue. Make my dog pee in that corner of the yard.
yeah.
Okay, but I'm going to leave at the end of an hour. What are you going to do to make the dog not pee in another corner?
Right.
It's based on the connection with you, and I had a really hard time making a living when I was like, but you have to do it. My parents were like, this doesn't seem sustainable. You're edging yourself out. But I still think in all the ways that we outsource, we shortchange ourselves, especially with our relationship with animals. So along the way, I became a volunteer. I did a program called Family Pause Parent Educator, which I love. Family Pause. We basically focus on the relationships in families that have kids and dogs, or
Hmm.
families with dogs and babies on the way. So I would go to schools and
Nice.
talk about, like, with coloring sheets, this is dog body language. Would you pet a dog looking like this, etc.
Right.
I've just been at what are the other doors that are not either being opened or need more people to walk through, or that interest me to bring whatever I can to this animal welfare world, not because I'm such a pioneer, but because I'm a middle child. I like to make things
Oh, that's
hard.
adorable.
I make things difficult. I go against the grain. It's my nature, Tracy.
So sweet. That's so sweet. I'm a middle child. I've never heard a lot of the ideas that you're expressing are unique to you, even though you've drawn many of them from having participated in more programs than I had actually realized, because you called yourself trauma informed. It's like I once went to a masseuse and she kept asking me if I'd been traumatized and was it okay? And I'm like, yeah, of course, I'm here for a massage. You don't have to ask me every part of my body that you're going to touch if I've had trauma. I appreciate that might be really important to somebody or to you but I don't know, trauma informed. There's a lot of trauma in the world. We've all had our
Totally.
our bad moments, but some people much worse ones. And you're eating disorders were monumental, as I pretty much all the people I know that have had eating disorders, it can kill you, of course, in fact.
Yeah.
So pulling yourself out of that and getting the help you need and the support you need and figuring it out and overcoming it is quite the mountain to climb. And I guess Ophelia was there for you during that. So losing her was letting go of that rope that you had that was tethering you to that
Yeah,
journey to wellness. And I think that may be true of a
absolutely.
lot of people. And that's why grief and grief counseling and grief awareness is also a big part of what you write about in the bonding and the letting go. It's a really big deal.
Yes. It is, especially because pet loss is so disenfranchised, and by disenfranchised grief, meaning in the hierarchy of what's socially acceptable to grieve, it
Right,
ranks very low. So
right,
it's get another dog, it's only a dog. Come on,
right,
it's a cat. How
right.
many cats are out there, etc. Imagine all the compound grief that is can be very confusing if you're exposed to it constantly. So we take in seniors in my home. So we lose a lot of animals. We adopt seniors. So there's the piece of, but you didn't have them that long. Okay. Then there's at the shelter, you're walking a dog every Saturday, and then you go on the fifth Saturday and they're not
No
there.
dog.
If they're euthanized, there's grief. If they're adopted, there's grief. Is it to a good home? Are they
Right.
going to let them inside? Leave the door open and the dog's going to get hit by a car? It's all this mystery that you have to face. You have
Yeah.
no control over. The same thing if they're rescued. Is it a boarding based rescue? There's just all these ways that the grief we feel, even in the best case scenarios, doesn't have a place to go in this animal
That's a great
welfare
point.
world. And
Yeah.
as a foster, same thing. I weep whether they've been with me for 2 weeks and they get adopted, or 6 months and get adopted, or they end their life here as a hospice case. It doesn't matter. I'm sad. Did I wait too long? Was it too soon?
Right.
Will they miss me in the new home? It's as if it's never happened to me every single time, because I have to face the fact that I'm losing something.
Yeah.
I'm letting go of something. I'm losing something that I demonstrated having love for by what I did, by what
Right.
I did to
And the way
have
you did
them,
it,
and
as
the
you
way
described.
I did it.
And
Yeah,
you're not a, what is that horrible phrase? The childish crazy cat lady. You're a woman with a solid sounding marriage and real life human children, but you made this connection with these animals in a way that I think a lot of other people have. And I think you've given voice to it and given it a shape so that people who need to have that deep dive or find themselves in the deep dive with that animal relationship can help. It helps them to navigate it, to understand it, to soften it for you. Because for the dog, the human companionship is good. That's just good. It's fine.
feels
It doesn't
good.
have to
Yeah,
have nuance. It doesn't have to be, is it a one today or a 10? It's a human. They care about me. They're going to feed
totally.
me. It's going to probably be a dry roof over my head. But for the human, there's a lot of variation in what their
Yeah.
day feels like and what that relationship feels like. And you look at the dog, oh my God, you could be gone tomorrow, but I really care about you. You've touched me in some way that is just making me vibrate emotionally.
I think of you, even when I'm
Yeah,
not thinking of you, my
yeah,
body is aware of you.
yeah.
Have you lost an animal, Tracy, that you
Oh,
think
sure.
about?
Everyone who's had them has lost them. I'm very good at putting up a wall. I'm very good at the idea. I wanted to make sure I've left a few good days on the table,
Mm,
that I didn't
yeah.
end it when they were ever suffering or suffering more than I could stand to watch.
Yep.
And I guess losing a number of people to horrible ends of life, cancer in all those cases, horrible ends of life. I think what we offer animals is the greatest gift of
I do
euthanasia.
too.
Peaceful, painless, and so for me, the human losses make the animal losses seem much kinder and much gentler and much more generous in a way. We have used up our time, Katya Lidsky, but your book, Be Your Dog's Best Friend: The Benefits of Mutual Bonding and Relationship Building, is unique. It's fascinating. It's really interesting reading about the human race as well as the canine one. So, our job really well done. I feel like you might have another book, and you
Thank you.
emptied yourself out in this one, but I think you probably filled up some in the meantime. You're such a passionate, thinking, feeling, caring person, and it jumps off the page. And it's really good to talk to you and put it in the perspective that you really are that person. And you're
Thank
grounded,
you.
but you're there with your head in the clouds too, in the most nice way. So
Wh-
congratulations.
What an absolute honor and a real pleasure to get this feedback from you about people. Thank you for your honesty and your time and your just you're able to look at a mountain from so many different points of view, not just sitting in that one window. You just feel like you just get up and walk all the way around. And I'm so grateful that you've shown some of that light on me in my book. I really am. Thank you so much, Tracy.
Very sweet of you. I hope wonderful things continue to happen in your life and to the dogs in your life. Take care,
Me
Katya.
too.
Bye bye.